Everything is going as planned. As I went to the house to pick up something I had forgotten, my husband's voice came from the living room. Your wife should be on her way to the other side soon. My mother-in-law says, I can't believe they despised me so much that they wanted to murder me after living with me for so long. Normally, I would have questioned my husband and mother-in-law right away, but I didn't dare to do so because of my profession. I began my fight to expose them for the evil they had done the next day. Kathy Smith is my name. Ryan, my husband, is 3 years older, and we married 3 years ago. We met at my husband's workplace during a traffic safety class. At the time, I was a police officer in the traffic division. It was my first traffic safety class, and I was nervous because I was not used to speaking in front of large groups of people. I was impressed by the way he talked to me to calm me down. We became good friends as it was, but despite being married for many years, we still did not have children. I wanted to have children as soon as we married, but Ryan wasn't so sure. Raising a child is expensive, so maybe after we have a little more money saved up. He said so, but since we both work, I'm sure he's not concerned about money. But every time we discuss children, he dismisses it. I am not alone in my concern about not having children. Heather, my mother-in-law, has always been concerned about our lack of children. She seemed to be looking forward to grandchildren at first, but after 3 years, she began to suspect that I didn't want children. You're not going to be young forever, so you better hurry, she said. If a woman does not bear her husband's children, she's no better than a housekeeper. It's not like I don't want to have a child. When I tell Ryan what my mother-in-law said to me, he becomes irritated. What exactly is it? Are you blaming me? I'm overworked and exhausted. If you truly desire a child, make an effort to make me feel that way. He would start saying that without fail, and he would pay close attention to my appearance. Anyway, his tastes don't suit me, and he prefers girls who dress younger. Furthermore, no matter how many times I tell him that I can't be too trendy because I don't know when I'll be called away for work, he doesn't get it. A wife who does not dress well is an unfit woman. You should think about it before complaining to me. I had no idea my husband, who had been so sweet to me before, had such terrible ideas, and I regretted marrying him. My department and work schedule changed 2 years into our marriage. It became increasingly difficult to time my husband's day off with mine, and we spent less and less time together. I knew it wasn't good for us, and even when we finally managed to schedule our time off work together, Ryan made plans with someone else. You're canceling again. You promised last week that we'd go to the movies today. Some girls at work invited me to go fishing yesterday. They said they couldn't put the bait on the hook because they were afraid. I apologize. It's part of my job. Despite his words of remorse, he has a grin on his face. As a result of my husband's selfishness, my much-anticipated plans were betrayed at every turn. I was in a bad mood and wanted to spend my day off at home. But then my mother-in-law would show up without an appointment at my house. Oh, Ryan isn't here? He went fishing. Some girls from work asked him to accompany her. I guess he'd rather play with other girls than be with you. I don't want to deal with my mother-in-law, who can say such things to me and act like she doesn't care. but I can't just leave her alone and go out. So my days off would end with her sarcastic remarks like this. You don't appear to be able to have children. You need to be more proactive. You're his wife, right? I'm doing my best as well, but it's about money, and Ryan isn't thrilled about it. Because of finances? So, how much money do you make now? I hesitated to tell her about private matters, even if she was my mother-in-law. When I told her a little less than my actual pay, she sneered, with a disappointed expression on her face. Oh my, it's surprisingly less than I thought. After all, I'm a civil servant. With such low wages, how can you want to have children? What on earth was she comparing them to? I wish she would not compare a wealthy individual to a civil servant. However, something about my mother-in-law's demeanor felt strange at the time. And the doubts I was experiencing at the time were only the beginning of the story that was to unfold. My mother-in-law began to openly bully me after that day. Her visits to my house have increased to the point where I see them half the week. When I got home from work one day, my mother-in-law entered the house using her own key and was cooking dinner. Oh my, you're a wife, but you prioritize work over family. It must be wonderful not to have children. Perhaps it was because of my sarcastic mother-in-law's meals, but I was always sick after eating. She would wake me up once when I was sleeping after a night shift. How long do you intend to stay in bed? You're not a good wife if you stay in bed until noon because of your job. This will make a man want to go out and find someone else. She then forced me to eat breakfast. As a result, I gradually discovered that nothing I ate tasted good, and in some cases tasted bitter. After more than a month of this, I was so tired from stress and lack of sleep that I had to go to the bathroom right after eating. When Ryan saw my tired face, he became annoyed rather than concerned. I'd feel down too if you made such a sour face at home. You have been slacking by delegating housework to my mother, so you should at the very least be sociable. She only visits when I'm too busy to do the housework, and she's always sarcastic. You're well aware of this, aren't you? Despite my warnings, he ignored me and continued to watch TV. He refused to listen to what I had to say. Instead, he kept laughing at the TV show, and my rage erupted. Ryan, you don't look at me when we talk anymore. You've started canceling plans with me even on holidays. Are you having an affair? That's a horrible accusation. My husband raised his voice in response to my words. I have a business matters. How can you say that without knowing how difficult it is? You only feel that way because you're the one who's cheating on me. He turned red and spoke in a firm tone. I was too stunned by the power of his words to respond. Furthermore, my husband took it out on the vase on the table, knocking it to the floor and sending shards flying at my feet. You don't have to go this far. That was the first time I had felt threatened by my husband. Such incidents have occurred on numerous occasions since then, and simply being at home with my husband has made me feel uneasy. I had to leave the house for a few days for work one day. I left for my business trip, but I realized I had left my important notebook at the door and forgotten about it. So I hurried back home. It's so nice of you to go on a business trip without doing any housework, isn't it? I was told the day before. I felt awkward seeing my husband because we had argued the day before and left the house. So when I got home, I opened the front door slowly so as not to make a sound. I discovered my mother-in-law's shoes there. I was about to walk away when I overheard them conversing. I got the thing, and so far everything is going as planned. Your wife is going to die soon. That's correct. However, it's not as effective as I thought. She's been going to the bathroom after every meal, so I guess it's about time. The conversation took my breath away. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What exactly does she mean? I quickly took out my voice recorder, which I always keep with me, and began recording. Unaware of what I was up to, the two in the room were upbeat and talking loudly about their crazy plan. Should we increase the amount of the life insurance policy? That way, we'll be able to pay off Mom's debt, right? I'd be extremely grateful. You won't have to look at that ugly girl every day too, then. I held my breath in surprise. I can't believe they think of me like that, even if they don't like me. In addition, I could hear him saying, "She's a police officer, but in the traffic department, so she'll never find out about it." I gradually became more angry than sad, vowing vengeance on them. On my business trip, I kept thinking about how I could get back at my husband. A colleague who was with me was concerned about my glum expression, and when I complained to him, he gave me some unexpected information. He told me that a drunken man had caused a commotion at a club a while ago, and when he arrived, he discovered that the drunken man was Ryan. He said that he recognized my husband's face right away because he was at my wedding. "This is my girlfriend," he exclaimed. "I'll beat up anyone who tries to touch her." Ryan was so drunk, hugging the female workers and kicking the table. But he wasn't drunkenly saying this. He actually appeared to be in a relationship with her. I suspected he was cheating on me. Everything my husband had done up to that point made sense to me. I wasn't surprised as I was shocked, but I was motivated to conduct a thorough investigation into my husband's affairs as well. Watch out, I'm not going to let this go. A week later, my husband abruptly began speaking to me in the same friendly tone he used when we first began dating. I was expecting him to have a hidden agenda, but instead he handed me a document. "Kathy, you always give your all in your dangerous job as a police officer. I admire you as a husband, but I'm concerned about you." What a pleasant surprise. It was a life insurance application. I was convinced that he was considering carrying out the plan. Even so, I wanted to believe Ryan one more time. "Do you really believe that? Is it possible that someone will try to murder me? Would you be concerned if that happened?" I locked my gaze into his. "Please, I beg you to reconsider," I thought in my head, as he nodded at me with a big smile on his face. "Of course. So get moving. Please sign this application." Is the only thing he sees in his eyes now the insurance money he can get in exchange for my life? He was a scumbag to the core, but thanks to him, I felt confident in sanctioning him. In this world, you never know who's out to get you, do you? Yes, and yes! There have been so many upsetting incidents. Someone in your family, for example, has a stupid idea. Yeah. Like planning to get rid of a wife who causes problems because he wants to be with a younger woman. My husband's eyes began to swim as he became visibly upset. His debt-ridden mother tempted him to take out an expensive insurance policy on his wife and kill her. Wait a second. What the hell are you? In front of my husband, I play the voice recorder. When I play the voice recorder in front of my husband, his face distorted and became ugly as his mother-in-law's conversation and vulgar laughter began to flow out. Hey, what's up this recording? I happened to overhear it. Thank goodness I have a voice recorder. I wouldn't have it if I'd spent my entire life working in traffic. You work in the traffic division, though. I'm now in the criminal division. I also told you so. So, I guess you've been busy thinking about a woman since then, and you've been ignoring me. I slammed the photographs of the affair evidence that my husband had hidden in his room. These were the only ones I discovered while searching the house while my husband was away, and strong evidence. I don't know anything of these pictures. I don't even know who she is. I heard she works at a high-end club, the one you had a problem at. You're so cool. I heard you yelling, "She's my girl!" How much do you know about? I'm not sure. Concerned. He was now making excuses to his wife no matter what. My mother is to blame. When she discovered that I was dating another girl, she insisted that I marry her rather than you because of your low salary. My husband's words made sense. When my mother-in-law inquired about my salary and stated that it was low, most likely referring to my husband's girlfriend. According to the voice recorder recording and listening to the conversation, my mother-in-law owed me a substantial sum of money. It would be shallow of her to try to pay off the debt with my insurance money and from my husband's new girlfriend. So you're saying it was your mother who devised me the scheme? Yeah, I had absolutely nothing to do with it. What are you on about? It started with you cheating on her to begin with. It's disgusting to blame someone else for it. You will never be forgiven. I shouted, and my husband grabbed my chest while screaming incoherently. I grabbed him by the hand and threw him to the ground with all my might. I'm a cop. I'm used to dealing with aggressive people like you. I don't need life insurance to protect myself. My husband became weak and apologetic when he saw the handcuffs. You're arrested. I apologize. I don't know what I was doing. Please accept my apologies. I'll hear your excuses at the police station. I'll give you ample opportunity to explain. Following that, my husband and his mother were imprisoned for a time for plotting to kill me. I filed for divorce and demanded $20,000 in alimony from both my husband and his girlfriend. They may be freed soon because it was an attempted murder, but I am sure they will be fired from their jobs. And they will have a difficult life with the alimony payments and paying off my mother-in-law's debts. On the other hand, for the first time in a long time, I'm enjoying living alone. I've been forced to live in a small space, so I decided to stretch out and spread my wings for a little while longer.
I can't eat such a cheap pizza. Order again from a high-end restaurant. Ethan's wife Caddy exclaimed, sweeping her long hair back and looking at the pizza as if it were something dirty. This happened when Ethan, the eldest son, came home for his first long vacation after getting married. Even if it's cheap pizza, it's from a proper shop. I protested, but it seemed to have no effect on Caddy, who just snorted in disdain. That can't be true. I have a taste for fine food. This is just cheap stuff. Order a pizza from a high-end restaurant, quickly, Caddy demanded arrogantly. Realizing it was futile to argue with her, I reluctantly nodded, gripping my mobile phone in my pocket. Yes, I understand. My name is Rebecca. I'm a 73-year-old housewife. I once aspired to be a craftsperson in my youth, but now I live a peaceful life with my husband. My husband, Neil, comes from a long line of farmers, and naturally, he took over the family farm. Even now at 75, he works hard every day growing vegetables. I knew he was a man of few words when we married through an arranged marriage, but his love for farming is intense. He always worries about his vegetables on stormy days. I fell for his hard-working nature. Neil may not be good with words, but he always cares for me and prioritizes what I want to do. If you need money, I'll work harder and earn more, he once said, blushing, which made me happy. His words, though few, always move me. The ordinary days I spend with Neil are symbols of happiness for me. Little did I know that our tranquil life as a couple was about to be threatened. Mom, I found someone I want to marry. Ethan messaged me one day as I was watching my usual lunchtime TV show. When I saw that message, my heart nearly leaped out of my chest. Ethan, now 40, is a system engineer. He's a man of few words, like Neil, and I never thought he would be in a relationship with a woman. Although I was fine with Ethan remaining single, I had a slight desire to see my grandchildren. Ethan, being our only son, had almost led me to give up on ever seeing grandchildren. Trembling with joy, I struggled to calm myself as I replied to Ethan. Really? I'm so happy. Bring her over anytime. A reply came immediately to my emotional message, and arrangements proceeded smoothly. We were set to meet Ethan's girlfriend the Sunday after next. Then I'll bring her over the weekend after next. Thank you. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. When I told Neil, who had just returned from work, about Ethan's marriage, even the usually reticent Neil, I wonder what she's like. And he too had a smile on his face, seemingly uplifted. Both of us had fantasized about Ethan bringing home a wonderful wife someday. Now that the fantasy was becoming a reality, I couldn't contain my excitement. Then, the promised Sunday arrived. Unfortunately, it was a day of heavy rain and strong winds. So, Neil went out to work, saying he needed to check on the fields. I was disappointed to miss our family meeting day, but I knew Neil valued his work, so I didn't stop him. Alone, I prepared tea and snacks, waiting for Ethan and his girlfriend to arrive. Mom, I'm home! After a while, I heard Ethan's voice at the entrance, followed by the sound of an umbrella being folded. Welcome back! The rain was terrible, wasn't it? Yeah, we're soaked. This is Caddy, the woman I'm planning to marry. Welcome, I'm Rebecca, Ethan's mom. Nice to meet you. Hi, this rain is the worst. It's ruined my brand new outfit. Caddy, Ethan's future wife, brushed off the raindrops from her clothes with an annoyed gesture. Her outfit was a trendy, short top with shoulder cutouts, showing some skin. The bottoms were slim pants, but in a strikingly bright green color, unsuitable for a family meeting. At first glance, Caddy was a beauty with a model's figure. I never imagined Ethan would end up with someone like her. I was astonished. But more than that, I was concerned about Caddy's attitude. Not only her appearance, but her failure to even say a polite greeting left me at a loss for words. Having had little interaction with such flashy types in my youth, I struggled to find the right distance to keep with her. Feeling suddenly tense and unnaturally stiff, "Please come this way," I managed to say. "Isn't Dad here today?" After the three of us sat down, Ethan, noticing my discomfort, tilted his head in an exaggerated manner. Yes, he went to check on the fields because of the weather. I see. Can't be helped, I guess. Ethan seemed convinced. Huh? The caddy next to him raised her voice critically. Coming all this way in this weather and he doesn't even show his face? What kind of father-in-law is that? I'm feeling a bit uneasy about the future. Caddy, playing with the ends of her hair, expressed her dissatisfaction. Ethan, looking uneasy, said, "Dad's a farmer. It can't be helped. Bad weather affects the earnings." He tried to calm Caddy. "I'm sorry about that. By the way, Caddy, you're quite young, aren't you? How old are you?" I decided to change the subject and ask Caddy a few questions. "I'm 32. Honestly, there's quite a generation gap between Ethan and me." "Is that so? But you get along well, right?" At this question, Caddy looked away, and Ethan awkwardly looked down. Something about Ethan's behavior was odd, and I was doubtful whether Caddy truly liked Ethan. "We get along. Just the other day, we went to see a movie together." "Yeah, that war movie was so boring. I fell asleep in the middle." The family meeting was enveloped in an uneasy atmosphere. While Caddy was in the restroom, I asked Ethan, "Ethan, does Caddy truly love you?" "Of course she does, but she's a bit spoiled, being the youngest at home and always getting her way." "I see, but don't you think her attitude is a bit too much?" "What can I say? She's always like this." Ethan, seeming timid, appeared quite smitten with Caddy's beauty and didn't find her attitude particularly bad. I wasn't convinced, but if Ethan was okay with it, I decided not to interfere further. Above all, I was eager to see my grandchildren. I didn't want to dampen their decision and spoil their future. With Caddy's attitude unchanged, the family meeting ended, and they left. Neil returned just as they were leaving. "How was it?" he asked. "Well, let's just say she's a bit lacking in common sense." Hearing my opinion, Neil seemed to ponder for a moment and then went to his room. I sighed and started preparing dinner. A month after the worst family meeting, Ethan and his wife registered their marriage and became officially married. Ethan sent a photo of them submitting their marriage registration. As usual, Caddy was dressed flamboyantly. Her short dress fully exposed her thighs. While she indeed had a great figure, I couldn't help but wish, unconsciously, that she, being 32, would dress a bit more conservatively. Ethan and his wife swiftly built a house in a seaside town. It was an area where wealthy people lived, with beautiful streets. Naturally, the real estate was expensive. But Ethan, having been a single system engineer until he was 40, seemed to have saved a considerable amount of money. Additionally, the wedding ring was a $10,000 piece from a famous brand, which surprised me. I'm sure Caddy insisted on a high-end brand ring. Ethan was never much interested in brands. As I was surprised by their new life start, I was waiting to hear about a pregnancy. Then I got a direct call on my mobile phone from Caddy. "Hello, this is Rebecca speaking." "Ah, Rebecca, I'm shopping right now and there's this dress I really want to buy." "What? What do you mean?" I was taken aback by her sudden call and request. "So, can you come right now? You're not working and must be free, right?" I finally understood what Caddy was implying. She wanted me to come over and buy the dress she desired. Her unreasonable request left me sighing. Maybe you should ask Ethan about that." No, Ethan is at work now, right? He can't come. I called you because I thought you'd understand without me saying." Caddy's condescending laugh made me question her sense. "Anyway, I have plans today, so it's not possible," I said and hung up. What a request to make to a mother-in-law. Having no daughter, I always wanted to be kind to my son's wife. However, I can't allow her to be presumptuous. I only want to accommodate reasonable requests. Caddy was far from the daughter-in-law I had envisioned. This one unreasonable request made that clear. I even thought that I wanted to keep my distance from her as much as possible. After that, Caddy would often call me to ask for favors like, "Can you pick me up?" Or, "I can't pay at the hospital, can you pay for me?" Her requests were often impudent, and usually involved money. "I don't have any cash on hand," being a common reason for her calls. I didn't comply every time, but ignoring all of Caddy's requests would complicate our relationship. So I reluctantly fulfilled about 1 in 3 of her demands. Eventually, I couldn't bear it any longer and confronted Ethan about Caddy's behavior. "It can't be helped. Caddy's family is wealthy, so she's used to getting her way, Ethan said, sighing. Indeed, I had sensed wealth from the aura of Caddy's parents when I met them. However, that's a different story. I began to wonder if Ethan's indulgence was the problem. Even so, are you also giving in to her whims? If you do, Caddy will never change, you know. Well, I know, but without Caddy, I don't think I could ever get married again. Essentially, Ethan, mesmerized by Caddy's beauty, had married her, but he was exasperated by her unrestrained behavior. I must say, 40-year-old Ethan marrying such a woman was indeed miraculous. Ethan is aware of this and wants to keep the marriage going at any cost. So please overlook her whims a bit. I'll try to talk to her gradually, Ethan requested. Like Neil, Ethan is a man of few words and, like me, has a gentle nature. He probably finds it hard to stand up to Caddy's tyranny. I know Ethan's temperament best. That's why it was frustrating to hear this. After hearing Ethan's feelings, I continued my usual life, trying not to burden Neil, who was always working, with worries about Caddy. But Caddy's phone calls didn't cease. Enough is enough. Holding this frustration in my heart, the long vacation came, and Ethan and his wife visited our home. We're home! This house is still as old-fashioned as ever. Caddy complained as she took off her high heels at the entrance. She was dressed inappropriately for her age, in a crop top and miniskirt. Even Neil, who was unusually off work that day, frowned. As usual, I ignored Caddy's attire and rude remarks. Please, come in, I said, inviting them into the house. Caddy had probably come along with Ethan for the vacation reluctantly and didn't really want to be here. Her reluctance was transparent, making me feel uncomfortable. I had ordered pizza, thinking of a meal with Ethan and his wife, who were visiting after a long time. Does Neil always work? Yes. Was it okay for him to not work today? Today was fine. Caddy asked as if she wished Neil were not at home, making my husband's eyebrows twitch. I laid out the pizza on the dining table, trying to ease the awkward atmosphere between them. Come on, let's eat. You must be hungry. While Ethan exclaimed, Looks delicious. Caddy grimaced, staring at the pizza I had arranged. Ethan said, Let's eat. Just as Ethan reached for a slice, Caddy swept her hair back and pointed at the pizza. I can't eat such cheap food. Order again from a high-end restaurant. Her unexpected demand left all three of us frozen, our hands paused midair over the pizza. Caddy's eyes glittered fiercely, like a lion ready to pounce. Even if it's a cheap pizza, it's from a proper shop, I argued, trembling with anger but trying to remain calm. However, my words seemed to have no effect on Caddy, who snorted dismissively. That can't be true. I have a taste for fine food. This is just cheap stuff. Order a pizza from a high-end restaurant now! Caddy commanded in a strong tone. Neil and Ethan were shocked at her behavior, not used to seeing her act so terribly at home. Realizing that reasoning with Caddy was futile, I reluctantly nodded, gripping my mobile phone in my pocket. Yes, I understand. I silently stood up and headed to the kitchen, infuriated by Caddy's attitude. I was thinking of a way to teach Caddy a lesson. May I take a moment to do this? Just do it quickly, Caddy ordered. Hearing her tone, I felt free to retaliate. I called Neil into the study to share my plan. Her attitude is too much. What are we going to do? Neil, usually calm with me, was visibly upset by Caddy's behavior, showing a rare, stern expression. I'll order the pizza from a high-end restaurant as Caddy wants, and there's something else I'd like to do. What is it? I shared my plan with Neil. Then, understood. He crossed his arms. That might just teach her a lesson. Yes. Neil returned to the dining room, and I called a high-end restaurant to order several pizzas. The expense was a bit painful, but it seemed a small price to pay if it meant teaching Caddy a lesson. While we wait for the pizza from the high-end restaurant, why don't you go for a walk? I suggested to Ethan, glancing sideways at Caddy, who sat cross-legged and sulky, not touching the pizza we initially served. Ethan, wanting to alleviate the awkwardness, agreeing to my suggestion. Yes, that sounds good, he quickly concurred. A walk? Isn't the high-end restaurant's pizza here yet? I just ordered it, so it might take about 30 minutes. They seemed quite busy. Really? This is unbearable. Caddy stood up and left the house with Ethan. After confirming they were gone, I immediately began preparing for my plan with Neil's help. 30 minutes later, as the high-end restaurant pizza arrived, Ethan and Caddy returned. Caddy still looking displeased. Here, the pizza from the high-end restaurant has arrived. Please enjoy. I served the pizza on new plates in front of Caddy, placing the packaging from the high-end restaurant discreetly on the table. This is definitely different from the regular pizza. Delicious. That's great to hear. Caddy looked blissful, holding her cheek, a stark contrast to her earlier demeanor. Rebecca, you should have ordered high-end restaurant pizza from the start. It's only natural when you have guests. Caddy, that's too much. Ethan, perhaps feeling apologetic towards us, tried to stop Kathy, but it was Neil who spoke up. That was made by Rebecca. Huh? Caddy looked at Neil dumbfounded. Ethan was surprised, and I felt a thrill of revenge. You were so insistent on ordering from a high-end restaurant, I ordered just enough for a family of 3. So the pizza you ate wasn't from the high-end restaurant. Rebecca was training to take over her parents' high-end restaurant when she was young. She's practically a professional, having practiced for years. While you were out, she quickly made it. The pizza you had was Rebecca's homemade. Ours is from the high-end restaurant, but the taste is almost the same, maybe even better. Neil said this and took a bite of my pizza from Caddy's plate. Indeed, I had trained to become a pizza chef in the past. My dad was strict, and I honed my skills through constant practice and criticism until achieving perfection. I hadn't made pizzas much since getting married, but it was exhilarating to revisit my old skills. Caddy had praised my pizza, and at that moment, I internally celebrated my victory. Impossible! That can't be true. It's so delicious, no way it could be homemade. Ethan, is it true Rebecca's family owned a high-end restaurant? It's true. I used to go there often as a kid. Their pizza was definitely exquisite. What? Caddy trembled, shocked by this unexpected twist. What's with your attitude towards Rebecca? After preparing to welcome you with pizza, you disrespect her? And demanding high-end restaurant pizza? That's just outrageous. Neil, usually quiet, erupted in anger. Caddy recoiled at Neil's outburst, but still had the energy to retort. I didn't know. It's not my fault you ordered pizza. I never said I wanted pizza. Frustrated beyond words at Caddy's refusal to admit fault, I felt my anger wane. Ethan glared at her, seemingly on the verge of shouting. I decided to reveal my trump card. I've been listening to this conversation, Caddy. How could you be so rude to Rebecca? Huh? Caddy froze at the sound of her mom's voice, suddenly appearing. I didn't mean to. I showed Caddy the phone where her mom Wendy was on the call. I had called Wendy as soon as Caddy arrived, letting her hear Caddy's behavior. Wendy scolded. Don't be disrespectful to Rebecca. I didn't raise you to be like this. And if you continue this appalling behavior, you won't be welcome back home. She ended the call sharply. Caddy probably never imagined that she would turn her own mom against herself. For a while, she trembled in shock. Then, fine, I won't come to this house again, she said and left. Neil and I were relieved she was gone, feeling refreshed. Ethan looked conflicted, but likely done with Caddy. I'm tired of being with Caddy. Better to be single than continue this marriage. That's okay. It's a shame about not seeing grandchildren, but you can find someone else when you're ready, I said. And Neil nodded silently. We continued eating the high-end pizza, just the 3 of us. Later, Ethan divorced Caddy, tired of her behavior. Their marriage didn't even last a year. It's better to be single than live with such stress, he concluded. After breaking up with Caddy, Ethan seemed somewhat relieved and focused on his work. Meanwhile, Caddy was scolded harshly by her parents when she returned home. I'm still in touch with Wendy, and we've become friends who meet for tea. Wendy, a generation older than Caddy, has a solid character, unlike Caddy. She plans to monitor Caddy closely until she can handle household responsibilities and secure a decent job. I can only hope that Caddy doesn't stray off the path again. I am planning a trip with Neil and Ethan soon. I'm really looking forward to this much-needed family vacation.